And now we go back to the handover ceremony venue. We now see the delegation from the Chinese side. And there are 2,500 guests from all over the world. In Hong Kong, the 5 people representing the Chinese side on the stage during Hong Kong's handover were President Jiang Zemin, Premier Rongji, the Foreign Minister Qichen, Military Commission Vice Chairman Zhang Wanyan, and Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa. That was in Hong Kong. In Macau, the 5 on the Chinese side are President Jiang Zemin, Premier Rongji, Vice Premier Qichen, Military Commission Vice Chairman Qichen, and Chief Executive Designate Edmund Ho. And we see international guests arriving. Jenny, we're now seeing the handover ceremony venue.
That's right. That's right. I can see that, Diana. Well, I'm actually in Macau at the ruins of St. Paul. Now, in the Portuguese delegation, there are 82 people. There
Same
are
as
82
the
people,
Chinese
including
delegation.
some former governors of Macau. The Portuguese delegation, that is. There are 82 people, including some former governors of Macau, obviously President Jorge Sampaio as well, the Prime Minister Antonio Guterres, the President of the Supreme Court, the President of the Constitution Tribunal, and a whole list of other Portuguese officials. Now, I think what's very different, Diana, this handover of Macau to Chinese rule from Hong Kong's handover is that there's really a great deal of public involvement this evening. If you can hear where I am, the background, if you can hear the music and the commentary, is actually one of the many public celebratory events being held this evening.
Yes.
The picture we're looking at is the Portuguese delegation that I was mentioning earlier. And some of the Macau officials who obviously will be leaving for Lisbon, some of them later this evening, some of them tomorrow. Diana?
Right, and we haven't seen them yet, but this is, of course, the Chinese delegation, and they have also 82 members, exactly the same as the Portuguese one. We see Hong Kong's Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa there, and Tung Chee-hwa is not part of the Hong Kong delegation, comprising 20 members, but he's a guest of the mainland. And
that's right.
There's Chen Zhuyi, a familiar face in Hong Kong.
That's right. Now, just a little bit on the international agreements and rights and the status of Macau that will be protected, that are promised to will be protected after this handover. Like the Joint Declaration on the Question of Macau, there are numerous such international agreements which are supposed to remain in force after the handover. The basic law of the Special Administration Region of Macau provides for the application after 1999 of the United Nations Pact on Civil and Political Rights and on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. And Macau is already a member in its own right of UNESCO, the World Trade Organization, the International Maritime Organization, the World Tourism Organization, a whole list of other things. Yes. And the Sino-Portuguese Joint Liaison Group has agreed on the continued future application of Macau of at least 90 such treaties to which Portugal was originally the signatory. And of course, among those are human rights treaties and conventions, very much similar to the arrangement for the handover of Hong Kong, obviously under the concept of one country, two system.
Well, it's right, because Macau and Hong Kong are supposed to be models for eventual reunification with Taiwan, as officials have recently said.
That's right. And of course, the person who came up with this whole concept of one country, two systems was Deng Xiaoping, who is no longer with us. And but his wife, though, is there at the handover venue this evening. His wife, Jorge, who came down from Beijing earlier today with the rest of the Chinese delegation.
Now the leaders have yet to come out, and when they do,
Now, what is also,
Portuguese,
the other thing I was going to say, what is also very different is that they've managed to put this together seemingly, well, some of it, I have to say, seemed very last minute because they were still doing the rehearsals and some of the security rehearsals had to be cancelled because of poor weather, but there you go, it's all coming together seemingly quite well so far.
Right, well, they've got it together and the weather cooperated. So at midnight, the Portuguese flag will come down and the Chinese flag will go up. Actually, the ceremony will be very similar to the Hong Kong handover ceremony. We're now waiting for the leaders to come out. There will be speeches given by Jiang Zemin and his Portuguese counterpart, Jorge Sampaio.
Yeah, and you remember, Diana, with the handover of Hong Kong, do you remember the flagpoles had a sort of hollow tube inside it in order that the flags will be blown open once they're raised?
Right.
So I wonder if they have that tonight.
I'm not sure, actually.
Ah, there you go. I bet they do. Look at that. It's flying quite beautifully there.
Yes. Well, we want to see it, don't we?
Still waiting for the guests to arrive. Now this ceremony is being held at a cultural center very near the waterfront of Macau, which was built specially for this evening.
Well, it's a temporary structure.
Yeah, it's about 6,000, I'm just reading some stuff about it. It's about 6,600 square meters. And today, everywhere there were security checks.
Yes, how was the security there? I understand that there were about 3,000 members of Macau security forces keeping peace in Macau today. Did you feel the tight security?
That's right. Yeah, well, what's happened is they had a very large, restricted area around this handover venue.
The Portuguese MC is now welcoming the assembled gathering and the start of the handover ceremony. The Chinese MC does the same.
Chinese counterpart.
He's just announced the start of the Sino-Portuguese handover ceremony.
Now, just a point of interest, where I am at St. Paul's, where thousands of people have gathered, and also there are other similar locations around Macau. They can see this whole thing happening on these enormous television screens outside. There's a great deal of public participation this evening.
The Portuguese MC is now announcing how the ceremony will go with the chief Portuguese delegates, Jorge Sampaio, Antonio Guterres, and the foreign minister, Jamie Gama.
What will happen after this flag lowering and raising ceremony is that the guests will then walk over to a place called Macau Forum, which is about 15 minutes from where they are now, where the new government of the Macau Special Administrative Region will be sworn in. But then the Portuguese president and the governor of Macau, soon to be the ex-governor of Macau, General Vasco Rocha Vieira, will not be going to the swearing in of the new government.
And the Chinese MC is now announcing the Chinese delegation, naming the main guests. The main guests, of course, are Jiang Zemin, Rongji, and Qichen. Also, a special addition to the Macau handover is Deng Xiaoping's widow, Zhuo Lin, and her inclusion is seen as a tribute to her late husband as architect of the one country, two systems concept.
Now the troops getting ready for the moment we've all been waiting for.
The Portuguese guards are carrying swords while the Chinese soldiers are carrying rifles.
That's right.
The Chinese honor guard is supposed to be the same as the people who did the Hong Kong handover.
That's right. The Navy in the blue, the Air Force. No, the blue is the Air Force, the white is the Navy, and the khaki is the Army, the People's Liberation Army.
Agradece-se a todos que se levantem para a entrada das altas individualidades representantes dos dois países.
The guests are asked to stand at the entry of for the arrival of the leaders. There will be a trumpet. There it is, the trumpet fanfare. Yes, both sides have trumpeters. Both sides have 3 trumpeters. Everything has to be equal. And Jiang Zemin leading the Chinese delegation and Jorge Sampaio leading the Portuguese delegation. And the Chinese delegation, Jiang Zemin, Rongji, Qichen, Qian, the foreign minister, and a representative from the military.
Executive designate, Edmund.
Podem sentar-se, por favor.
请坐下。
Sua Excelência, o Presidente da República Portuguesa,
Jorge
Dr.
Sampaio,
Jorge
President of
Sampaio,
Portugal,
vai
will be
usar da
speaking
palavra.
next.
现在，请葡萄牙共和国总统尚帕约阁下讲话。
Now a speech from the President of Portugal, Jorge Sampaio.
The speech will last 5 minutes, and Jiang will then speak for 5 minutes as well.
Excelentíssimo Sr. Presidente da República, excelentíssimas autoridades, senhoras e senhores convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores.
President Jiang and other distinguished guests.
Que aqui nos
President
reúne
Jiang and other distinguished guests.
constitui momento essencial e único da história de Macau.
The ceremony that brings us together here today represents an essential, unique moment in the history of Macau.
De forma solene, a transferência para a República Popular da China.
As far as Portugal is concerned, this is not only the solemn handover of the sovereignty of Macau to the People's Republic of China, but the reassertion before Macau and the international community, so broadly represented here today, of Portugal's commitment to the future of the territory within the